So far, we've seen about 20 to 30 millimetres across parts of South Wales, 40 millimetres in some locations. By the end of today, we could, over the hills in South Wales, be seeing 100, perhaps in worst case scenarios, 120 millimetres of rain. As you suggest, that's equivalent to about a month's worth. The typical value for December in South Wales is around about 140 millimetres of rain. So, yeah, just to put that into context, close to a month's worth in some locations may fall before the end of today. Now, obviously, it's quite a wet part of the world, but it has been quite a wet November. So this rain falling onto very soggy ground is expected to cause some problems. That's why we've got that amber warning in place.
Which areas do you think are going to be the worst affected? You mentioned sort of higher ground, obviously, where the clouds hit, but which particular parts of Wales should people be extra cautious?
It really is the whole of South Wales. Pretty much that's where we've got the whole amber warning in place. So places like Vale, Merthyr Tydfil, but also down further south and Swansea, Cardiff, those areas also in that amber warning area. Obviously, the rain falls heaviest over the hills, but then it filters down. It doesn't stay there. Right? It comes down, and then there's always a bit of a lag before we see some of the worst flooding. So keep up to date with Natural Resources Wales, because they'll be monitoring the river levels quite closely over the next day or so, because there's always that lag. So yes, the heaviest rain is today, and it will be easing somewhat for tomorrow. But there's still a continued risk of flooding, certainly for the next 48 hours.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, really. How long should people in those more low-lying areas stay on alert for? Because, they may look out the window and think, oh, the rain stopped, it's all fine. But there's a huge amount coming down the rivers behind them.
Yes, there's always that lag, and it doesn't look dry, certainly for the rest of the week. So it's one of those ones we're going to have to keep up to date with the forecast and keep up to date with Natural Resources Wales or the Environment Agency, because they've got yellow warnings out across parts of England and southwest Scotland as well. So stay in touch with SEPA. So yeah, there is still the potential for further issues through this week. It's just that the nature of the rain today is particularly heavy and persistent. After today, it's more showery, so it'll be more hit and miss, so it won't be as bad. But of course, any rain now falling onto saturated ground has the potential to cause further disruption.
And what's causing this particularly heavy belt of rain?
Today we've got what's called a waving weather front. They're a bit of a nuisance for us meteorologists because they're always hard to pin down. It's a weather front tied into an area of low pressure, so we're familiar with low pressures coming our way, especially this time of year. This one's actually heading way up to the northwest of the UK, but it's got a weather front on it that's got a little wriggle on it, or we call it a wave, and that does a couple of things. It slows the rain down, and it also adds some intensity. So that's one of the factors, the fact that the rain is just lingering over South Wales today. But the other factor is the strength of the wind. So around this low pressure, the winds are pretty lively. Coming up from the south, which is why it's so mild. You may well have noticed that. You've been out today. It is quite mild, certainly across England and Wales. But those winds are coming up from the south. And as they hit the hills and mountains in South Wales, that pushes the air up, and that generates extra rainfall as well. So it's a combination of factors, I say, plus the fact that it has been very wet recently in that part of the world.
Unusual for this time of year, Alex?
The amount of rainfall we're seeing, not exceptional, but because it has been so wet, that's the problem. It's kind of the cumulative effect. As I said, we'll probably see close to a month's worth in a day. That's not normal, but it does happen. But because it's been so wet recently, that's what we're looking at. Obviously, low pressure systems coming in is fairly typical for autumn and November, but this one's just packing a bit more of a punch, and because it's been so wet recently, we haven't seen a kind of settled spell where high pressures allow things to dry out for a while. So, we get these spells of low pressure, but they're often interspersed with high pressure where the weather dries out for a time. We just haven't seen that, certainly not in South Wales and parts of Western Britain generally, for a few weeks.